Hello again, everyone. My name is James Shotwell, and this is Music Biz. It's so good to be with you again, especially because of my guest. Yes, today is another Fast 5 episode of Music Biz. We're talking about rock marketing, and I'm telling you, you're going to want to hear this. So a couple weeks ago, my friends at Atom Splitter PR told me about an up-and-coming band called Raptors. And yes, that's an incredibly good name, but I had to hear the music first. And as soon as their debut album hit my desk, Living Without Death's Permission, I knew we had to talk. Now, the story behind Raptors is pretty crazy. The band was formed in 2018 after the lead singer was nearly decapitated in an automobile accident. It's around the same time that he coined the phrase Living Without Death's Permission, which has become a mantra both for himself and for the band. Now, this is one of those rock bands that exists to motivate you, to push you to overcome your fears, be more confident, and accomplish the things that you want to do with your life. But that's not what we're here to talk about. Since 2018, Raptors has become an international phenomenon, so much so that they got the attention of Metal Blade Records, who is currently promoting the band's debut release. And that's what I wanted to know. While the rest of us have been trying to adjust to this new normal, living through a pandemic, the world being on fire, new viruses popping up all the time, economic collapse, amongst all of that, not to mention the move for everyone to promote everything digitally, Raptors, a band that nobody knew 5 years ago, rose up through the ranks, got the attention of the biggest label in metal, and are now putting out a record that people are excited about. And you're going to hear how they pulled that off right now. All right, man, let's put 5 minutes on the clock. And let's begin. So let's start with the biggest thing. Raptors has a record coming out in the near future. Give me the elevator pitch. Tell me like the 30-second reason people need to hear this album.
So it's Living Without Death's Permission. It is a way of life, how I've been living since I nearly got decapitated in a car accident a couple of years back now. Once when we got together, and it's changed my life, and it was the basis of the whole album. So it's life through our eyes, and how I kind of take on this belief every day now of kind of living like we're on borrowed time.
Without getting too in-depth into your story, can you give me like the short version? So did this happen before there was a band, or like the band was going, this happened, and then you like found the direction?
Yeah, it was actually a reason I pursued music, because I was it was before the band, before we got together, and when I was in a place of unbalance and uncertainty for where I wanted to go in life, this kind of put a nail on the head, and I thought, why even think about doing anything that's not going to make me happy? If I was taken off this planet the very next day, I want to be doing something that I'm going to feel fulfilled with, and that's what pushed me in the direction of music and helped us all come together.
Well, I'm curious about how you found the sound of the band, because it's a little bit of a genre blur. You got a lot of different elements of rock going on there, but you guys kind of make it all balance really well. So on the one hand, it feels incredibly methodical, because it feels like the only way you could make it all work together is because you thought it out relentlessly. And at the same time, it still kind of feels loose and fun, like it just fell together this way. So which is it? How did you find the sound of the band?
It's more towards the latter.
Good.
It's definitely more that we're just music nerds. We're just music fans. We just want to do everything. We want to involve everything. We have so many influences, and we listen to so many bands that we want to have infuse elements of this together. But it wasn't in any way like a calculated move. It's more of like, I've got this idea, it kind of reminds me of this, and then we just roll with, we just think of the song as opposed to the any category that it's ever going to go into. It's just what mood we're feeling. If that's going to if we're going to draw on powers from certain historical kind of bands or anything that's current, it's less calculated and more just in the moment kind of feel.
Well, I love to hear that. Now, you guys have been a band for a handful of years now, but for the majority of it at this point, there's been this weird global pandemic thing going on. We don't have to get into that too far, but what I find fascinating is that so much of what's happening for the band in terms of forward momentum has been during this time. So something I'm curious about is, what has been working to like get the word out there about Raptors? I mean, you guys are signed to Metal Blade. You have this record coming out. You've got a great PR team behind you, and a lot of it's come together while the rest of us have been trying to figure out what's happening in the world. So what's the secret?
Well, do you know what? I think it was a lot to do with momentum. Because we started in 2018 and just got on the road straight away, and that was our ethos was to become the live band, be known as the live band. So we toured relentlessly. As it happens, just before the pandemic hit, we actually went to the studio with a handful of songs, and we recorded a couple, had them on the back burner, carried on touring. So there was still like this big momentum, and then obviously just the rug got swept from under us in March of 2020. But because we had these songs on the back burner, we were able to release those during the pandemic. Naively thinking we're going to be able to tour them in 3 weeks' time anyway, so it won't matter. But yeah, we released, as it happens, it was at the start of the pandemic, but because of that release and because we'd had that momentum of making new fans and meeting people on the road, we were able to keep that momentum going through the lockdown. And as it happens, we started pitching those songs, and that's where we found Metal Blade and the team from there. So we were very lucky that we had put in all the legwork before the pandemic, that we had enough to keep us going. We also live together, the majority of the band, in our Raptor pad. So we were able to still create content and write songs. We wrote the majority of the album in that isolation period. So it was we were able to keep the ball rolling and keep active. There was just no stopping. Even though the world was standing still, we could still be doing stuff. So it was we like to keep active.
Well, I love to hear it, man. We've had our 5 minutes, but I have at least one more question for you. So we're just gonna keep going real quick. You mentioned you got the attention of Metal Blade, but that is the dream for so many musicians out there. And it's a question that I'm sure people have asked you before, and it's one that I have to know the answer to. Do you remember like what you sent? What was the first thing that you sent Metal Blade that got a response? Like how did you connect with them?
So, well, this is the crazy thing. So as the story goes, because we were uncertain of where exactly this got solidified. So Chris Santos, who is a celebrity chef out with you guys, who runs the Blacklight Media department of Metal Blade. So during the pandemic, he would have late night YouTube and Spotify sessions, and he discovered our song "You Mean the Devil Makes Three" while on one of these binges. So when our manager contacted those guys, they already knew. So it was I mean, this is the beauty of the age we live in and the internet, is that the pitch was kind of already done. They'd already discovered who we are. They'd already done a deep dive into us when we contacted them. So it was purely just hey, we're checking in. We have a handful of songs, and they were like, let's hear them. And the rest is history.
Well, before I let you go, one last question for you. I've always been impressed with how the band has kept the momentum going that you talked about earlier. Approaching a record release, even with the help of a label in 2022, is such a challenge. I mean, the release pipeline congestion is unbelievable, especially in rock and metal. There's just so much content. So for you and the band, what has been working? What is the thing that is actually getting people to pay attention to the band or listen to the songs? Like what marketing is actually finding traction for you?
The what we have really discovered through the pandemic and in the months since is it's the human element. Like, I think when we started out, we were so trying to be perfectionist and kind of almost minimalist with things, and it works to a certain aesthetic, and it kind of works. But what I have found, and any advice for people starting up, is that people love people. People love the human element. People love stories. People love to see the real deal. Mm-hmm. So I think us opening up, and it definitely feels like more of a family connection with the people that we are gaining this following with, than it is these kind of interactions. It's the letting the guard down a little, but which we were always quite like scared to do at the beginning. It was like, you're very much exposing yourself and your life. Mm-hmm. But that's what we've kind of done, and especially through the pandemic, doing Twitch streams and speaking to people on the real, on a level, mm-hmm. seems to go so much further than trying to appear as sort of unattainable and trying to be too perfect about things. Mm-hmm. It's imperfection that is the human syndrome, mm-hmm. And being real with people has definitely worked for us.
Well, that is a great answer, and we are way out of time, but thank you so much for taking a chance to speak with me today, Simon. The record is great. I'm really hoping people discover it and listen to it if they haven't already by the time they're hearing this, but thank you for taking the time to talk to me today.
Thank you so much for having me, James.
Wasn't that great? I want to thank my pal Simon from Raptors for talking to me today. Again, the band's new album, Living Without Death's Permission, will be available very soon if it's not already, so go out there and look them up everywhere. It's RXPTRS. That's how you spell Raptors in 2022. Just trust me on it. I want to thank Adam Splitter PR for setting this up, and of course, Holix for making Music Biz possible. My name is James Shotwell, and I'm here each and every week bringing you new content. We talk about emerging trends in the industry, news headlines, lessons from success, lessons from failure, interviews, and so much more. If you haven't done so already, please follow along. Music Biz is available on YouTube, Spotify, all podcast platforms, and pretty much anywhere you learn about music on the internet. I'll be back soon, but until then, take care of yourself, because you deserve it.